Welcome to another episode of the What We're Watching podcast. I'm Megan.
And I'm Jenny, and today we're talking about Friends.
Happy Thanksgiving!
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving.
Almost.
I feel like you can't think about Thanksgiving without thinking about Friends.
There's so many Thanksgiving episodes.
Yeah, one for every season.
Yeah. Today we're going to be talking about Season 5, Episode 8, the one with all the Thanksgivings. I've seen two different titles for this episode.
Oh, really?
Yes. So I think on wherever I was watching it, what platform has it? Is it Max?
I think it's Max, yeah.
On Max, it says the one with all the Thanksgiving flashbacks. But then when I was Googling the episode, it's called the one with all the Thanksgivings.
Interesting.
Regardless, that's the one we're talking about.
It's the one with Monica and the turkey head. I think everyone knows that one.
Monica's head in the turkey.
Yeah. What did I say?
Monica and the turkey head. It's fine. We're cruising. Obviously, I feel like we can't talk about Friends without talking about Matthew Perry.
Right.
We had been actually planning to do this episode for a couple months. We actually planned November out very far in advance for us. And then obviously with all the tragic news of Matthew Perry's passing, it felt like we should just pay a little special extra attention to talk about him and his career and why we love him up top.
Mm-hmm. I will say it was really kind of hard watching Friends for the first time since his passing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so sad to see him as Chandler, the character that we know and love, and like think about him not being here anymore.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people are grieving right now, so he was just a beloved part of everyone's lives.
Mm-hmm. And it's always so shocking when somebody that you love on screen passes away in real life, especially at a young age, and it's unexpected. It's like especially devastating, I think.
Mm-hmm.
He was only 54.
Terrible.
I figured we could run through a couple of things he's known for the most.
Sure.
Obviously, Friends. I think people also know him from Ally McBeal, The West Wing, which I didn't even realize he was in The West Wing.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And The Ron Clark Story, which I've never seen that.
Huh.
But I do know all of the cast went to his funeral, which I thought was very sweet. It seems like they all stayed in touch and they all stayed relatively close. I know, at least according to like a lot of the entertainment news out there, how reliable that is, I don't know, but Jennifer Aniston, I think, is taking his passing particularly hard.
Mm-hmm.
I know her dad died almost exactly a year ago, so I think just the back-to-back loss is probably really tough.
Yeah, that's hard. I wish they would just leave them alone.
I know.
Like, just leave them alone. Let them grieve.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to know everything right now.
We don't need pictures of them walking into the funeral.
Absolutely not. Where's the respect? I don't understand.
I know. He also was an author, which I didn't know. He wrote a book called Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. That came out in 2022.
Yeah, it just came out. I love a good celebrity memoir. I'm reading 2 right now.
Okay. Did you read his?
I actually didn't read his, but I have heard about it. It was on my list to read, and now probably more so because I'm just really curious. I don't know if this was in his book or not, but I do think that he said somewhere that he knows that when he passes, he's only going to be known for Friends. But he wants to be known for helping people with addiction recovery and all the good things that he did. So I think that's like really interesting. And in his book, he talks about how many brushes he's had with death.
Wow.
Yeah.
That makes me sad.
Yeah, it's super sad.
I love that he said that, though, that he wants to be known for like his impact on other people with addiction that have struggled. I wonder, do you know if he worked with any specific organizations? Maybe we can link him in the show notes if people want to check him out.
We'll have to look it up. In his book, he does talk about how he got the role of Chandler, and it's very interesting. He always wanted to be famous. When the Friends pilot was going around, like it was called Friends Like Us, and that pilot was hot that year. Everyone was auditioning for it, and he really wanted to be Chandler, and he kept asking his agent or his manager to please, like, let him audition. But he had a contract for another show, and so he couldn't audition for it.
We've heard this before.
Yeah, we have.
Alex Bornstein, right? That was her story with Gilmore Girls.
Yeah, except that one was weird because she actually did have the part.
Yeah.
This one, he just felt so connected. Because this pilot was so hot, other actors were saying, hey, can you read lines with me? Because this guy Chandler really reminds me of you.
Ugh.
And I just want to read lines with you so that I can do it better.
I'm sure he was so annoyed.
Yeah.
He was like, I know, it sounds like me. I want to be him.
Yeah. So he would run lines with people. And yeah, I think the way that he ended up getting it was one of his friends got the role. He was stuck between 2 pilots.
Wait, one of his friends got the role of Chandler?
He either got the role of Chandler or got very far.
Okay.
And then he had to choose between this show, Friends Like Us, and this other show called Best Friends.
Oh my gosh. Wait, this is Matthew Perry.
Matthew Perry's friend,
Okay.
who was getting the role of Chandler.
Okay.
Cannot remember his name right now. Please read Matthew Perry's book if you want to learn more. But Matthew Perry's friend had to choose between these two shows, which were about friends, and he chose the show Best Friends, which nothing happened with it.
Oof.
As soon as Matthew Perry heard about it, he was like, all right, game on. He talked to his manager. He somehow was able to audition and got the role.
That is such a crazy story.
Yeah.
Like, the unlikeliness of that is so crazy.
Yeah. I think the last thing I'll say about him is like he had a rough life.
Mm.
And he makes that very known in his book from what I've heard.
Like his upbringing.
Yeah, and it all started with him being an unaccompanied minor on an airplane when he was little because his parents were divorced. And he lived with his mom in Canada and his dad lived in California. And I think a lot of his trauma stemmed from feeling abandoned. As someone who grew up being an unaccompanied minor because my parents lived across the country from each other,
Yeah.
I just find it really interesting how he experienced that because I experienced a very similar thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how his relationship with his parents was, but
Yeah.
I just kind of like found that connection to him and I thought that was interesting how hurtful that was to him having to travel between his parents when he was younger.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild how people can have such similar situations but react to it so differently or have such different experiences of the same situation. That's sad. It makes
Yeah.
me sad for him.
Me too.
I'm curious also, and I need to just read his book. I'm curious how his relationship with his parents changed when he became famous because I feel like a lot of famous people are just like people in the public eye have interesting or strange relationships with their families that change a lot when they become famous. So I'm sure if he already had a rocky relationship, that didn't help.
I feel like his dad was in the business too or something
Okay,
because
yeah.
his dad lived in LA. So he
Okay.
actually, as a teenager, moved to his dad's house in LA
Okay.
or right after high school or something. Yeah, it's super interesting. It sounds like his mom was pretty well known in like the Canadian government space, ? Need to read the book to find out, but she was really busy all the time and working hard. And she was like a single mother.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he just had a lot of like trauma around his upbringing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we're not going to spend the whole episode being sad
No.
because it's Thanksgiving week.
We're in the holiday spirit. We're going to respect Matthew Perry's legacy
Mm-hmm.
by talking about the show that touched everyone's hearts.
Mm-hmm. Without making it all about him.
Yep.
I guess because that's not what he wanted. But we will totally link his book. And then if there's like specific organizations that he worked with, we can put information maybe on our Instagram or something
Mhm.
if you're interested in learning more. Okay. I have a confession. I have seen so little of Friends. Like, I have seen maybe a dozen episodes, maybe. Like, here and there at friends' houses, like when it's been randomly on, which I don't think is typical for people our age. But this episode was like out of left field for me. Like, I have not, like, skipping to season 5, the episode 8 was like, whoa. But it was so good. And I loved it. It makes me want to watch it.
Oh, I'm so glad. That's kind of fun getting to hear it from your perspective too, as someone who didn't really grow up with it and doesn't have the same nostalgic feelings towards it, because I am the exact opposite.
Yeah, you love the show.
I don't know if it's like one of my favorite shows anymore. I don't know like how much of it really aged well. I have just seen every single episode so many times. I'm pretty sure there were years of my life when I was growing up that I watched Friends every single day.
Yeah.
And that's because my parents watched it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was always on TV in the background. Still at my mom's house, it's always on TV in the background. And I was watching it before I was even conscious of what was happening on screen. I knew all the characters by the time I was like 3 or 4. And yeah, I just thought they were like funny. I didn't really understand it.
Yeah. I think this is actually a really unique show in that our parents' generation loves this show. And most of the people from our generation, I feel like, love this show.
Yeah. My sister is much younger than me, and she wasn't allowed to watch the show like I was growing up. And so she begged and begged and begged. And she was like, please, when can I watch Friends? When can I watch Friends?
Aw.
And I think she might have been in high school when she was allowed to watch Friends for the first time. And she binged the entire thing so fast. So I think it still speaks to like younger people.
I totally think so. It's so just like, for the most part, it's just like relatable and funny. It's such a light watch. And I loved how quick the episode was.
Yeah, that's so fun that you hadn't seen it before. I love that.
I know. I always feel like I'm not in the club. Like I should watch it. Like it's one of those things you should watch that everyone's watched. So now maybe I'll just like put it on here and there.
Yeah, it's like so mindless. You can kind of just jump in whenever.
And I love seeing them all so young. It's like so fun to see it, like Jennifer Aniston and all of them just so young. It's so cute.
Yeah.
Okay, so the logline for the episode is, as the gang digests Monica's huge Thanksgiving meal, everyone reminisces about their worst Thanksgiving ever. So I thought, since they're talking about their worst Thanksgivings ever, do you have any bad Thanksgiving stories or good Thanksgiving stories or just your favorite Thanksgiving food?
Yeah, I don't know if I have like a bad story necessarily, but I will say that when I decided to become vegetarian,
Yeah.
it was like a week before Thanksgiving, which is like, why?
Plot twist, Mom.
Why didn't I wait until the next year, like New Year's? I don't know, but I was like adamant, I am not eating meat anymore. And I love turkey. So it was very hard for me to go to Thanksgiving and not eat turkey.
But you did it?
I did it. And
Have you ever eaten turkey since then?
No.
Wow. So that was it.
That was it.
Were you a one and done vegetarian? Like, I guess, yes, you made the decision and that was it.
Yeah, pretty much. And I will say, though, one of my favorite things about Thanksgiving back in the day, first of all, I loved having my family around. I'm like a big family person, and my family is not one that gets together a lot. So I just have like really fond memories of like getting together with all my cousins and stuff. But also, my favorite thing to do was to make a turkey sandwich with leftovers the next day and put potato chips on it.
Ah.
And I highly recommend to anyone
Yum.
to do that with your leftovers. Get Lay's potato chips, put them on there.
Maybe I'll try that. We never have leftovers because my mom's family is really big. We do Thanksgiving every year with my mom's side of the family. It's like a big family reunion. She's one of 5. And so I think I have like 15 or 16 cousins. And so it ends up being like a 30-person ordeal. It's so much fun because even though we all live, or used to, I guess, live around the Atlanta area, we wouldn't all get together usually because everybody's busy and had like kids with different schedules. But in like Atlanta area, people would live like 40 minutes away, you know? But Thanksgiving was like our holiday day. So it was like our family reunion day. So it's always really fun.
What's your favorite Thanksgiving dish?
The gravy. Is that an answer?
Is it
That's
homemade?
always my job. Yes, that was always my job. Or I guess my grandma, my nanny, passed that to me and my sister Hannah. So we would make the gravy. Although since Brian and I started like splitting Thanksgivings, now we like try to go to both houses. So I have since been dismissed of that job. But for a couple of years, that was my role and it's homemade. And so that was my favorite. So I would just put, usually stuffing is my favorite though with gravy.
You just reminded me, how come no one talks about how hard it is when you're in a partnership with someone that you then have to split holidays? And
It's
like
very difficult.
nobody talks about that. It's really hard because I want to be selfish and I want to do my traditions the way I've always done them.
Brad and I, we've been together since high school. And so we're coming up on 11 years. And we never did holidays together truly until the last, I think since we graduated college, like the last like 4 or 5 years maybe, because we just put it off as long as possible. And I remember my family always being like, why don't you bring Ryan to Thanksgiving? Why don't we do blah, blah, blah? And it was purely just my selfishness of wanting to, and I think both of us, like, I want to spend the whole time with my family.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so close to them, and I'm also change averse. So I was like, I do not want to have to mix this up until, like, I have to, or I really feel like I really want to.
Yeah.
So I get that. We're very lucky that our families, for the most part, I guess not our siblings, but our parents at least live in the same city. So we can literally, normally, not this year, but normally we go to his mom's house and she does an earlier Thanksgiving, and then we will go to my family's house and do a later Thanksgiving.
That's nice. Then you
Yeah.
get both.
Yeah. And he's Jewish, so that also helps because we can do Hanukkah with his family and Christmas with my family.
That's nice.
So we are very lucky. But even with that, it's hard to split time. It's hard to like make sure you're seeing everybody enough. And yeah.
Yeah. With Robert and I have parents who live across the country from each other, and then he has parents who live out of the country. So it makes it very difficult. And I cannot even imagine when and if we have kids.
Yeah.
Everyone's coming here. That's
Yeah.
what I've decided.
Exactly. I know. I'm like, I can't wait to have a house one day where like I can just be like, these are the traditions that we are doing. You can come. one day. So if that's you this week, we feel you and you're doing a great job.
Yeah. I do know that we have some listeners who are not in the US.
True.
And I always forget that other people don't celebrate Thanksgiving
Yeah.
because it's so big here.
Yeah. So to all of our international listeners, thank you for indulging us. We hope you still listen to this episode because I find that, I don't know, Thanksgiving is tricky, right? Because for me, it's about, like I said, like my family reunion every year and getting to do that. And also like Brian's family has such a fun Thanksgiving and we always go around and say it's something that we're thankful for, and just the practice of like looking around the table at your family members and being actively like grateful for them and for everybody's health and like to get to be there. And especially, you and I don't live in the same place as our families, so like making the effort to travel and see each other is important. Obviously, though, Thanksgiving has like extremely problematic roots in like America's history. And I feel like, especially growing up in the South and just like people not even being in the South, but I think just at the time we grew up, like people were just not woke to that. Like that was not part of the conversation.
Mhm.
Like the story truly was the settlers and the like indigenous people being buddies and having a meal together. And that's like
Mhm.
not real. That's like not true. It's kind of like the American story of the holiday. And so it's hard. I don't know. It's tricky to like rub against traditions that you love and like the original story of the holiday not being something you necessarily agree with.
Yeah.
So I just want to recognize that because I know some people, at least certainly on my social media feeds, have like stopped doing Thanksgiving altogether, or, you know, are very upset about the practice of Thanksgiving. And I totally understand.
It's valid.
Yeah. So it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one, but I know for me, I'm excited to see my family.
Me too.
Okay, should we get into the background of the show?
Yeah, there's so much because the show went on for 10 years.
It's iconic, yeah. It's a huge part of pop culture, even now.
Yeah. The creators are Kevin Bright, Marta Kaufman, and David Crane. And they actually created Friends after kind of like a low point in their careers where their sitcom had been canceled.
Huh. The same three of them made a different show and it didn't work?
I think so.
Okay.
And so they started to think about what it's like to get out of college and be in New York and that time in your 20s when the future is kind of a question mark. And they were like, that's interesting because everybody knows that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Just so true.
So true.
And so they've often said that the show is about when you're single in your 20s and your friends are your family.
I love that.
Me too.
I think that's great, especially if you move to a different place. I think that becomes true. Like, I remember that. I remember getting out of college and starting a job and just being like, pause. This was the goal the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, and suddenly, you know, you're so used to being on the same path as everybody else and you have the same, you know, holiday breaks as everybody else and you're taking the same tests, and then suddenly to be on your complete own individual life path for the first time, nobody prepares you for that.
No.
And you really lean on your friends, I think, that are around the same age to like share that experience. So I love that that's the premise of the show.
Me too. The show was originally called Insomnia Cafe.
I'm so glad that's not the name.
Me too, because they talked about like the Central Perk coffee shop was going to be like one of the main locations.
Totally.
And then they changed it to Friends Like Us. And then, of course, it became Friends.
I like Friends the best. Good choice. Although if it was called Friends Like Us, I don't think anything would have changed.
No.
I think people would have liked it the same, and that's just what we would call it.
Same.
Yeah. So 10 seasons, a decade. That's a lot.
1994 to 2004. Again, this show was filmed not in New York, but in Burbank, California at Warner Brothers Studios. We've done a lot of those this month if you want to go listen to them.
We need to go on a tour. You grew up around LA. Have you been on a tour?
I've only been on the Universal Studios backlot tour that you can like go to Universal and then take that tour of all the sets and stuff. Not the Warner Brothers one.
Okay.
We should do it.
Yeah. Some of our best friends, Natalie and Kate, grew up in that area too. Maybe we can finally do our Disneyland trip and also go to the Warner Brothers Studios.
Yes.
Yeah.
This will be our test if they listen.
Yeah.
If they text us after this. Actually, you can see the Central Perk at Warner Brothers Studios.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
You can visit the set. I guess people cry when they visit it.
I believe that.
I probably will too.
I can't wait.
We'll cry together.
You'll cry. I'll film it and put it on our Instagram.
I always forget that this was filmed in front of a live studio audience.
Me too.
That just blows my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Just, that sounds so hard, first of all. And I think like often you'll hear the criticism about Friends being unrealistic. Like Monica is living in this gigantic apartment in New York and all of them are financially struggling, but they're living in really nice apartments and they kind of don't have to work very much, to be
Mhm.
honest.
I've heard this criticism, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty big one. But the reality is they needed a set that was big enough that the live studio audience could see it.
I never would have thought about that.
No.
But that's true. Like, you're basically doing a stage show, and like everything is exaggerated and purposefully made larger for people to be able to see on stage show. So that totally makes sense.
Yeah. It would take them about 4 to 6 hours to film in front of this audience. And I read that the writers would run out and fix lines if they didn't get a big enough laugh.
Interesting.
And so they would do it again and again until they got a bigger laugh. And then that's what line would make it to the show.
Huh. That makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, normally I feel like, at least for dramas, they'll take like a week to shoot something, and they'll, I think, do a similar thing where they'll do a take and then another take and then another take. So it's probably a little bit nice for the actors to get to actually film an episode in one day and then be done with it.
Yeah, and I feel like they get that energy from the live audience. So that must be kind of fun.
Especially a comedy. I can see how that would be like really gratifying to have your character say a funny line and then have everybody laugh. But it would also make me more nervous.
How do you feel about shows that have like a laugh track?
Hate.
Yeah, same.
Hate.
Now, did you feel that it was awkward watching this with the laughing?
No.
I'm wondering if it's because it's like genuine laughter and not a laugh track.
Maybe.
Because like I think about shows like The Big Bang Theory,
Mhm.
it is so awkward, especially if you like remove the laughs or if you pretend you don't hear that part.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, they're all just staring at each other and pausing for a really long time before they move on.
Yeah.
They didn't do that in front of a live audience, right? I don't think so.
I didn't notice it.
I think it's a laugh
I mean,
track.
I'm sure they would. Oh, wait, you mean like Big Bang Theory?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a laugh track. Yeah,
I
yeah.
never watched that show because I hate that show, but
You hate that show.
Yeah, I
Brian hates that show.
so does Robert. Oh, they can be.
Oh,
they
I
can
like
bond.
that show.
Oh no.
Oh, no. And by like, I mean my family has it on a lot. So like when it's on, I will laugh, but I don't put it on.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I wonder if like this one is less cringy because they're actually. Wait, how did they keep a straight face when everyone was laughing?
That would be hard. It's like SNL.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, different, but you know what I mean. Live.
That's fun. I really wish that I had been able to go to one of the. I was way too young, but
It'd be
that would be
iconic.
fun.
And they don't really do that anymore. So there's not even like a present day version of that we could go see.
No,
Maybe it'll come back though.
I hope so.
Brian and I have the theory that cable's coming back. Sorry, this is a side tangent. I'll take 2 seconds.
Because of
but-
all the streaming services?
Yes. We're just like, look at where we are. Like, everyone is tired of paying so much money to each streaming service. They keep raising their prices. They're all adding ads back in. Like, we just dropped our Netflix membership to the one with ads, and it's really not that bad. But then we're like, wow, some of these ads are like 4 minutes long. That's kind of like a commercial break. And then we're like, huh. Everyone is complaining, I feel like, about having, 4 $20 memberships. I wonder when they're going to like wise up and just all come together and have like one $200 membership, kind of like cable, except for it's going to be apps instead of like
on
channels.
demand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's coming back.
Oh.
Mark my words.
All right. That's the pop culture prediction of the year.
Anyway, should we talk about how much money everybody made?
Of course.
So much.
Sickening.
It's sickening. Still do. Let me tell you, TV does not make that money now. When I was taking acting classes in Atlanta, one of my acting teachers was in Stranger Things. She was like the main detective in season 1.
Okay.
And I remember them making comments about how, like, in traditional TV, if that was a syndicated show, because it was so huge, that was played and there were reruns and everybody was watching and it was such a fan favorite, like Stranger Things is, you would make so much money even from being a small character. Like, that could be your job. But now with streaming, I think the actors maybe get paid up front. I'm guessing they like renegotiate their contracts and all that. I don't know exactly how it works, but they don't have the residuals that like the Friends cast does, where they're still making a lot of money from all the reruns.
Yeah. Isn't that one of the huge points of the strike?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the cast was paid $22,000 per episode for season 1, which is wild.
It's actually more than I would have thought.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
For season 1, if they didn't know it was going to do well.
Yeah, especially for a group whose previous show was canceled. I'm surprised that they were given that budget.
And most of the actors weren't really well known yet.
Yeah.
Courtney Cox was probably the most popular at the time. So it's
Yeah.
interesting. Then they had different salaries in the second season. It was like from 20 to 40K per episode. And then before their salary negotiations for the third season, the cast decided to enter collective negotiations, which is pretty much against what Warner Brothers wanted. But I think David Schwimmer, who plays Ross, suggested this or spearheaded it. And it really made it so the cast did everything together. Like, they were going to end the show if one person wanted to leave.
Mm.
Spoiler alert, that person was Jen.
Mm.
But after 10 seasons, it's like, yeah, it was time.
Yeah. I love that. I love that they were all together and that they negotiated together. And especially for David Schwimmer to be the man in the situation who, I could be so wrong, like they could be doing this purely on popularity, but I feel like a lot of times the male co-stars make more. For him to potentially put that on the line and say, no, we should all be making the same, we should all go in there together is, number one, so smart for all of them. Because you normally, like, I just hear horror stories of actors just being threatened to be replaced, even on very popular projects, for asking for more money because it's like a one person versus studio argument. But then also to like bring the group up, like the group's pay up is great.
Yeah, it changed everyone's lives, really.
Yeah, it makes me think of Grey's Anatomy where they did not do that. And
Really?
yeah, there was like a lot of beef with, I don't even know if it's beef, but I think, gosh, it's been years since I've researched this, but like the whole thing with Patrick Dempsey, I think was getting paid way, 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 way more than Ellen Pompeo.
Ooh.
And I think she found out. I think he maybe told her actually, which is good that he was open about it. And then I think she was like, my name is on the show. Like, why am I getting paid way less? Like, you would actually not have a show if I left, which, spoiler alert now, I think she just announced she's leaving. Anyway.
Well, are they going to finally cancel that show? Because it's so old.
I don't think so. I think they're going to keep going.
Are people still watching it?
Yes, they introduced a whole new season of Residents this year, I think, to like help replace. Anyway.
Oh my.
I actually heard it was getting good again. Like it was giving the original cast because it was like a whole new group of residents.
Oh, that's nice.
Anyway. But I know there was a lot of drama about, you know, the pay discrepancy on that show. And it was such a huge cable show similar to this that I'm like, if all of them went in together similarly, I think it would have been a really different outcome. Anyway.
That's interesting. So then they were each paid $75K per episode for season 3 onward. And then it kept getting bigger and bigger every single year. And then by seasons 9 and 10, they were making $1 million each per episode.
I cannot.
I can't imagine.
That is wild.
And that made the 3 female leads the highest paid women in TV.
Good for them.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I was just thinking to myself, I would retire.
After one season. Or if I made $1 million in 1 year, I'm done.
I'm done.
Although I don't think $1 million gets you as far anymore.
No, it doesn't. It would not be the same. It would not be retirable in the same way. But wow. And then I was thinking, I guess we didn't really see, especially Phoebe, for a while.
We didn't.
Right? Or is that just, I just wasn't.
I don't know, because I feel like she has done a lot of things nowadays.
Recently, we see her a lot.
But I don't know about the in-between.
Yeah.
I don't know if she took some time off or what.
Yeah. I feel like that would be enough money to be like, let me pause on this.
Oh, absolutely.
Revisit.
For the rest of your life.
Totally.
You're done. You're good.
Yeah. Okay, so getting into the cast, obviously first we're going to talk about Jen. I pulled just like a couple of snippets about each of them. So we could go on and on. We could probably do an episode on each one of these people because they've all had huge careers and huge public personal lives. But Jen, obviously, was married to Brad Pitt, and then she was married to Justin Theroux. Justin Theroux is actually really good friends with all the Smartless guys. If you listen to the Smartless podcast, it's hosted by Jason Bateman, Will Arnett, and Sean Hayes. Jen is still best friends with Jason Bateman and his wife Amanda.
I love Jason Bateman.
Yeah, me too. We love him. So I don't know if like they got together because of them or like what the tie-in there, but I do know that like Jason and those guys are still really good friends with both parties, both Justin and Jen. She's also originally from LA, and her dad, I didn't realize this, was a Days of Our Lives star.
Oh, wow.
So he was famous. So yeah, that's our little snippet. I'm sure everybody knew all that because she's very, very famous and I love her, but.
Very famous. One day we'll get into the Brad Pitt thing.
Yeah, one day we will deep dive that. Let us know actually if you guys would be interested in that. If you would be interested in a like specific pop culture deep dive that isn't a TV show or movie, and maybe we would think about it.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Okay, Lisa Kudrow.
I didn't know this. She got a biology degree from Vassar before Friends.
I had no idea.
What? So smart.
Yeah, wild. She's also been married to Michael Stern. They've been married since 1995, and they have one son who was born in 1998. His name is Julian.
Whoa, I did not know that she's been married for so long.
I think it's very rare.
Good for her. And that was when her career was blowing up.
Yep. He is an advertising exec from France, and they actually met because he moved to LA for his career, his like advertising career, and was dating her roommate.
Oh, messy.
Yeah, and that's how they met. And I know that they wrote her pregnancy into the show because obviously she was pregnant like at the height of the show in 1998.
Oh, they did. I cannot wait for you to watch those seasons. Those are some of like the best Phoebe moments.
Yeah.
If you know, you know.
I'm excited. She had this really sweet quote about when she was pregnant with her son where she said, the 6 of us would do a huddle backstage and just say, all right, have a good show. Love you, love you, love you, love you. And when I was pregnant, they would say, have a great show. Love you, love you, love you, little Julian. Because we knew it was a boy and that was his name.
Oh,
so that's so sweet.
Wait, I am just thinking about how pregnant she was while filming this. And I'm like, how did she do it for 4 to 6 hours in front of a live studio audience on her feet?
Yeah.
Maybe they wrote her in sitting a lot more. I don't know. I can't remember, but woof.
I know. And they're all pretty private. I'm sure that's like partially why their marriage has been so successful. I feel like when you find out celebrities are married to people, especially not in the spotlight, and their relationship is pretty private. Like I'm thinking of like Elizabeth Banks has a similar story, but her son recently graduated from USC and she posted a picture with him like saying she was proud of him. It was really cute.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
And then we have Courtney Cox, who plays Monica, of course.
Queen.
Producers actually wanted her to play Rachel, which I just cannot imagine.
Interesting.
Like I said, she was like probably the most well-known at this time. So yeah, they wanted her for Rachel because she was really upbeat and cheery. And that's just not how they pictured Monica at all. And she was like, no, I want to play Monica. So she auditioned and they were like, we hadn't envisioned her this way, but this works. We like it. So that makes me love her even more. I love that.
Me too. She has been in a lot of the Scream movies, which I actually didn't realize until the recent Scream movie that came out and she was in the trailer.
Oh, yeah.
But she married one of her Scream co-stars, David Arquette. They were married from 1999 to 2013, which was a long time. And they had a daughter named Coco, which I actually didn't know.
So at the time that, I don't know if this was like right when she got married or what, but her name in the title sequence became Courtney Cox Arquette. And there is one episode where everybody's name has Arquette at the end. David Schwimmer Arquette, Matthew Perry Arquette, Lisa Kudrow Arquette. And that is the funniest gag to me.
That is so funny.
And I'm sure they just like surprised her with that, right?
Yeah. I'm sure that was just a gag where they were like, I'm sure they were making fun of her or like people, I guess not even online then, but like in the tabloids and stuff were talking about her name. I'm sure it was like a topic. And they were like, let's just lean into this joke. And I love that.
That just makes me laugh.
She's currently married, or actually, I don't know if they're married, but she's currently with somebody named Johnny McDade. They've been together since 2013. I know her ex is also remarried. And he is a musician / singer producer from Snow Patrol.
I have not heard someone mention Snow Patrol in years.
I know.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then we have Matt LeBlanc.
Matt LeBlanc.
Apparently his friends call him Maddie.
Oh.
Like they all call him Maddie LeBlanc.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't really like that.
Kind of interesting because I don't picture him as a Maddie.
No, yeah. I have a story that I cannot remember if it's about Matt LeBlanc or if it's about Matthew Perry. And I have mixed them up in my head since I was very young because my mom loved the show and it was always on and I always got them confused. So I think it's just like residual from childhood. And it has like bled into the story now because I can't remember which one of them is about. But I think it was about Matt LeBlanc. So when I was taking acting, this also is like not actually even a great story. It just like this made me think of it and it's not mine. But when I was taking acting classes in Atlanta, one of my teachers, he was in New York in his like early 20s and auditioning and stuff. And he was in the same audition like circuit as Matt LeBlanc. And he was like teaching us a lesson about like taking auditions seriously. But the story is that he was in like an audition waiting room because when you're auditioning for something, you sit in the same room as all the other people that are waiting to get called in. And he was like chit-chatting and like a bunch of people in the room were chit-chatting and some guy came in and I don't think they knew who he was at the time. And he had like headphones on and his hood up and he just like sat in the corner and didn't speak to anyone when he was waiting to audition. And then they found out later, I think that it was Matt LeBlanc. Like after he got friends, they were like, oh, that was that guy. And they like at the time were all making fun of him for being like, this dude has like I don't want to put words in his mouth. I was about to say has a stick up his ass, but like it's just like not being like cordial and like part of the community of this like group of, you know, all the same people always audition for all the same stuff. And that was his lesson. He was just like, I took away from that, like, oh, you don't like, you're here to work, like you're here for a job, you're here to like for an interview essentially. So like, you know, do what you need to do mentally instead of like trying to make connections with all the people there.
That's exactly what athletes do before they have big races and big meets. So
Totally.
It makes perfect sense with acting.
Totally.
That makes me respect him more. I love that.
Yeah.
I hope that was Matt LeBlanc. I feel like it could have been Matthew Perry too, but I'm envisioning Matt LeBlanc with the headphones.
Me too. I think it was him. And like, yeah, anyway, we did like a mock audition thing a few times in my classes where we would have to go in and like sign in like it was an audition and then like sit in the room and stuff. And so that was like where his story was related. But I thought that was so interesting.
Huh.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, it's really funny because the creators actually didn't originally envision Joey being kind of simple-minded. I think he was like kind of more abrasive, more of a womanizer in this original script. And Matt spun him in a completely different direction in the audition, made him, you know, a little, he's not like the brightest bulb, but he has like a really good heart.
Yeah.
And the creators actually didn't want him at all.
Huh.
But it was a deal that they made with the network because the network really wanted him.
Oh.
It was a great move.
Yeah.
But that kind of makes me sad.
I know. I hope he didn't know that at first.
Yeah, I hope not. But I love what he did with the character because I don't think we would love that character if he was just a jerk womanizer.
Yeah, he's just a douche. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we have David Schwimmer, who plays Ross. He was the first actor cast.
Wow.
Which I find wild because I think he is the least favorite character of Friends.
Yep.
But the role was actually written for him.
Huh.
Because Kevin Bright, one of the creators, had worked with him before and knew that the role would be the perfect fit.
I mean, true.
The show wouldn't be the show without him. Like, is he my favorite character? No, but I kind of love where his storylines go and stuff. And so, yeah, I don't know. Good for him. This role was written for him.
Yeah. Also, if you listen to Armchair Expert, I'm pretty sure Monica and I think David Farrier, who's like this documentarian that they have on a lot, I think both of them, their favorite character is Ross. And they always talk about how they're like the minority. It's funny.
That is funny.
Also, he plays Melman in Madagascar, who is the giraffe, the like nervous giraffe.
Oh, I relate.
I completely forgot that, but I was looking him up and it was like known for Friends, Madagascar. I was like, who is he in Madagascar? And then it made perfect sense.
That's funny.
He was married to Zoe Buckman, who is an English photographer and artist, and they were married for 7 years and had one kid, and then they recently got divorced in 2017. So that's his personal life. Should we get into the episode?
Let's do it.
Woo! So it starts how I imagine many Friends episodes start, although this could be false. They're all sitting on the couch in the apartment, hanging out. This time it's after Monica's Thanksgiving turkey dinner, of course. And Chandler starts sharing his sob story about his gay dad and his parents' divorce. And everybody just kind of like rolls their eyes and are just talking about how he's going to tell the story again because he tells it every Thanksgiving. And we see a flashback of him as a kid. And this kind of starts all of the flashbacks. So we get this whole episode is just them sitting on the couch having flashbacks about Thanksgiving. Joey says, it wouldn't be Thanksgiving without Chandler bumming us out. This is funny.
And I'm like, his trauma was so relevant, but they always were so mean to him about it. Terrible. They actually are kind of all terrible.
That's very classic, the early 2000s, like rub some dirt in it, though, don't you think?
Yeah.
Whereas like today, it would be like such the antithesis of like, let's really break down your childhood trauma, like Euphoria style.
Yeah. That's interesting. Times have changed.
Yeah. Then it becomes just like the classic competition of like who has had a worse Thanksgiving in their life. Phoebe is a flashback to one of her earlier lives in 1862, where she was a nurse during the war. She loses her arm.
And they're like, what? Like her arm is like spurting blood.
Yeah, it's so gross. It's like such a like fake war flashback. It's really funny, actually.
And she goes, oh, in this life? Okay, Chandler's Thanksgiving is worse than any that I've had. And like Phoebe, I don't know if you know this, but she has the most tragic backstory out of everyone on Friends. And so it's just funny to me that she's like, yep, Chandler had the worst Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Joey is sad that he can't remember his past life, and he sounds genuine about it. It's so cute. And Phoebe pats him on the head and says, of course you don't, sweetie, you're brand new. And he just, I loved it. That was my favorite line of the whole episode.
Oh. And then we have Joey's flashback. We go back to 1992, where Phoebe comes home and she finds Joey with a raw turkey on his head, which he originally put on to scare Chandler, but now he can't get it off. And Monica comes home and freaks out because this is the turkey that they're having for dinner. And Phoebe and Monica try to pull it off. And while they are, Chandler walks in and gets scared.
So mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah. Okay, and then we see, I think it's Monica's flashback, or no. I think Rachel is like, ooh, what was that Thanksgiving when blah, blah, blah. And you can tell she's like trying to think of it. And Monica goes, oh, I know. And then we go back to this flashback where her and Rachel are in high school. I didn't know that they were like old friends.
Oh, yes. Okay, I think it would have been helpful if you had seen the pilot first, so my bad. But basically their story is that all of the friends are friends except for Rachel in the pilot, and then she runs out on her wedding.
Oh.
And she sees Monica, and she like stays with Monica because she needs a place to stay.
What an interesting start. I had no idea that was how it started.
And at this point, like, they weren't friends anymore. Monica wasn't invited to the wedding.
Wow.
So it's kind of awkward and funny.
Okay, I'm going to definitely go watch it after this. So her and Rachel are in high school.
I don't know if you know this, but Monica is the butt of the joke of so many episodes for her weight in high school. And this is the worst part of the show. Like, this aged the worst. The jokes are not funny. And yeah, I just cringe when I watch these scenes now where Monica's in high school or she's younger and they just treat her so poorly. And this is the episode where we really like get into that.
Yeah, this was my least favorite part of the episode for sure, was all of the like how a lot of this episode hinges on Monica's like weight loss, essentially, is like what it ends up getting to. Yeah, I hated it. I hated that. Yeah. I hated that was such a big part of it.
I think it's one of those things that's like important for us to like take a look at and like criticize now, but it is nice to be able to like look at that. That wasn't that long ago. Well, I guess it was like 20 years ago. Oh my gosh. But like, not that long ago. And
well, we just talked about Pretty Little Liars last week, and similar. There was similar, not the same, but the thread was still there. And that was 10 years ago, so.
Yeah, and so it's like nice to kind of look at things like this and be like, oh, we have made a lot of progress since then.
Yeah, it makes me like want to give so many props to my mom because something that I noticed like as I got to college and beyond is that I think I grew up in a pretty body neutral house, which is like something that I'm so grateful for now. And like it was never like people's bodies or appearance, us or people on TV or anybody that we knew, like their appearance was not up for discussion. It was just like never occurred to me to like address the way somebody on TV looked. And then when I got to college, that is all everybody did. Like we would watch The Bachelor in like the common room of my dorm. And I just remember being like, holy shit. Everybody's just like, ew, I hate that she's wearing that. And she looks like blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, whoa, the real world is tough. So anyway, this just like makes me, knowing like how much my mom loved Friends and that she grew up in a generation before us, it just makes me be like, wow, props.
I love that.
Yeah.
Go, Kathy.
Yeah. Okay, so back to the flashback. They're at Monica's family's house. Ross comes in with Chandler, who is his roommate and the lead singer of his band.
He's got this wild, like, Wolverine hair.
Crazy. It's so funny and cute, though. And you see Monica try to flirt with Chandler. Ross tries to flirt with Rachel. Yes, I have been spoiled on Friends. I know how that pans out. We find out that Rachel got dumped by her boyfriend, Chip, and says she wants to date grown men now, not high school boys. And Ross is obviously excited about this. However, very shortly after, Chip changes his mind and says that he wants to come over that night. And so they're going to have sex for the first time, I think. Or as Monica puts, she's going to lose her flower or give him her flower.
Yeah.
Which I can't with that also.
Monica sits on the couch with Chandler trying to flirt with him. And she's like, did you like my mac and cheese? And he's like, what? And then he goes, oh, yeah, you should become a chef. This is so funny because it's like this moment changes the trajectory of Monica's life because she says, okay. And she literally becomes a chef because of Chandler.
I didn't know that she becomes a chef.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes that way better even.
Yeah.
It was already funny for her to be like, okay. But then the fact that she did is so funny.
Yeah. I really like that they're trying to plant here that like Chandler really had an impact on her life.
Yeah.
And by the way, Chandler is treating her terribly because of her weight.
Yep.
Like he just is
uninterested. Could not be less interested.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Ross is talking to Chandler about asking Rachel out, and then Chandler says he doesn't want to be stuck here all night with your fat sister, and Monica overhears.
Yeah. Chandler, obviously, they come back to present day, and Chandler is profusely apologizing, as he should.
He doesn't remember it at all because
Yeah.
they don't remember when they hurt you like this.
Yeah. And so then Rachel goes, no, that wasn't the flashback I was talking, that wasn't the Thanksgiving I was talking about. So then we go to another flashback. This one's in 1988, which is a year later, where the girls are in college and they're back at Monica's house for Thanksgiving. Rachel got her nose done. Everybody comments, which I was very surprised in the previous flashback to see Jennifer Aniston with a different nose.
Yeah.
And then Monica comes down the stairs in this like pretty like slinky velvet dress. It's very obvious she's lost a lot of weight. Chandler is very impressed.
Yeah, disgusting. Now he'll give her the time of day.
Yeah.
We always talk about this trope in shows where like she was invisible, but he saw her when she was invisible. This is not that.
No.
At all.
No, this is the other trope of like the girl gets a makeover and suddenly she's like so hot, but she wasn't before.
Hate it.
Hate it.
Ross and Monica's parents want to hear all about Ross's girlfriend, Carol. I don't know if you
Sorry,
caught
I'm
any of this.
reading ahead because I wrote part of this recap and Jenny added her friend's knowledge in about how this ties into the rest of the show. And I didn't know anything about Carol, so
Okay.
please continue.
Okay, yes. So Ross goes, yeah, she's on the lacrosse team and the golf team. Can you believe it? She plays for both teams. And what Megan didn't know is that in the pilot episode, the biggest thing is we find out that Ross's wife is a lesbian and she's leaving him. And you don't know this as well. I feel like I can spoil this because it's literally
Spoil
season
away.
1.
Yeah.
His wife is pregnant with his baby,
Wow.
but then her and her new girlfriend, soon to be wife, raised the baby.
Wow.
And Ross is also involved. So it's like a whole thing.
Okay.
So yeah, huge part of the story.
Okay. Meanwhile, I think Monica and Rachel are in the kitchen. Monica tells Rachel that she wants revenge on Chandler for calling her fat, which is good for her. And then Rachel, I didn't really understand this. Rachel is like, oh, you have to get him naked so you can humiliate him. And Monica's like, how do I do that? And she's like, pretend to want to have sex with him because then he'll have to get naked to have sex.
Because she wants to like push him out on the front lawn or something.
Oh, that's what she wants to do. Okay.
Yeah.
I must have missed that line because I was like, why do they need him to be naked? I'm so confused.
Can you not humiliate him in other ways?
I know.
That's funny.
And so Rachel's advice is for Monica to act like everything turns her on. And she like shows an example of this like by like seductively picking up a dish towel. And so Monica's like, got it. And Chandler comes in and Monica starts being such a weirdo. It's so funny though.
Chandler comes in and he's like, oh, can you make some of that mac and cheese again? And she grabs the box of mac and cheese and is like seductively rubbing it on her face. And then she grabs the carrots and
She picks them up like fingers.
she makes carrot fingers like a claw.
And she's like rubbing her side with them. So she's like rubbing the mac and cheese and the carrots on her and he is so freaked out.
And then she grabs a knife.
She keeps going, yeah.
She grabs a knife and she starts doing sexy things with the knife, except they're not sexy. And he's like, what is going on? And then she drops the knife. It falls through the air and it cuts Chandler's toe off.
So they get to the hospital and Monica has a bag of ice and the doctor, and she's like, don't worry, doctor, we have his toe so you can put it back on. She hands it to him and he pulls this little nub out of the bag and it's a carrot. It's not the toe.
Not the toe. And then her mom goes, oh my God, there's a toe in my kitchen.
The important fact. So then we go to present day. Obviously, Monica is apologizing and Chandler is so upset. That's why I lost my toe? Because I called you fat?
He goes into his apartment because he needs to be left alone after this.
Mm-hmm.
And then Monica shows up with a turkey on her head to cheer him up.
Mm-hmm.
She puts on these glasses and she starts dancing. I feel like everybody has seen this before. Have you seen this before?
Yes.
Yeah. And then he starts giggling and he says, you are so great. I love you. And this is the first time that he said, I love you.
That's what I gathered. It was very cute.
And then they have this back and forth where he's like, no, I didn't say that. And she's like, yeah, you did. And it's really cute.
Yeah, and then Joey comes in, sees the turkey head, and runs away screaming. Perfect.
Chandler got him back.
Yeah.
So funny. And then at the very end, we have the tag, the like last joke of the show. And it's Thanksgiving 1915, different war. And Phoebe is now a nurse and she loses her arm again. And like you can tell she remembers her past life before that too, because she's kind of like, not again.
Yeah.
Or like this again.
Yeah.
So funny. What did you think having seen this and not really having the background of the show?
I loved it. It was so easy to watch. I was worried that I wouldn't, and I obviously didn't get some of the things because I hadn't seen it or seen a lot of it. But I think because I knew, obviously, you can't like exist in the world and not know about like Friends and the four of them and their personalities and their dynamics, that was enough. So I would encourage everybody to watch this one, or at least one of the Thanksgiving episodes. It was like such a good way to get in the mood. I feel like at least I like to skip over Thanksgiving. I go straight to Christmas, like Halloween, Christmas. And it was nice to just like watch a Thanksgiving themed thing.
And you have 10 Thanksgiving episodes to watch, so
So many options.
go for it.
Yeah.
Something about this show is that it has just had like a huge impact on culture. Like there was this study that said that it changed the way that people spoke and how they emphasize certain things.
Mm.
Like how Chandler speaks and he always says, "Could you be more whatever?"
Mm.
He always emphasizes things like that. But then there are other words, I guess, that they noticed that people were emphasizing more, which was interesting.
That's super interesting.
And it's a huge way that people learn to speak English. And I've heard this from so many people who've told me that they've learned English through watching Friends.
Wow.
And please, somebody, if there is something in Spanish that is the equivalent of this, let me know, because one of my friends did tell me one, but it's something I can't stream. So please help me out.
Yay, we did Friends.
Yes, we did. That was a nice little tribute to Matthew Perry and I think to just the time of year.
Yeah. I hope you guys are having a great Thanksgiving week. I think we would love to know what you guys think of the show format. We've been doing shows all month and it's been really fun. We've mostly been covering just like the first episode because I feel like it gives us a good platform to like talk about the cast and talk about what happens in the show. But if there are shows that you guys want us to cover, let us know.
If you liked it, please consider giving us a 5-star rating. It would really help us out a lot. And we really appreciate you listening.
Happy Thanksgiving. Bye.
Bye.